Now, if you're a fan of Britain's Got Talent, cast your mind back to 2012 and you might remember the duo Charlotte and Jonathan, who came second in the overall competition. Well, Charlotte and Jonathan's first audition, that was the beginning of a road to stardom, which went on to 2 top-selling albums, a UK tour, to name but a few. Now the pair are exploring solo careers, and Jonathan Antoine has since had a #1 classical album, a UK tour, and is back with another album called Believe. And I spoke to Jonathan last week and he told me how his journey into music started.
In terms of my parents, they're not musical, but they always encouraged me to seek my dreams and find what I really had passion for. And in terms of music, a few teachers at primary school, actually, when I was in, choirs and productions then, sort of noted that I had an okay high male voice. And moving on into high school, I started to have singing lessons because I found that I really enjoyed singing. I found it an easy and fun way to express myself, and it was from there that Jenny Ewington, my singing teacher at the time, really encouraged me to try more classical and musical theatre songs as opposed to just pop stuff that I would usually do.
It's just an incredible voice you've got, and I think many people that saw your very first audition on Britain's Got Talent were absolutely blown away by you. Let's talk about your relationship with Charlotte. How did you first come together then and start performing?
Well, our first performance together was actually for our GCSE performance exam.
Okay.
We actually sang the very song that we sang on BGT, The Prayer. We sang that for our GCSE exam. That was however many years ago now.
Yeah.
And yeah, we weren't explicitly a duo act.
Yeah.
But when we entered for the competition, Charlotte just sort of messaged me and said, "Do you want to come on this TV show with me?" And that's kind of is where it all started.
Did you have any reservations when she first approached you and said you fancy doing it?
Well, at the time, in and of myself, I wasn't in the best place.
Yeah.
I really felt as though I had nothing to lose. So I threw all caution to the wind.
That's a really hard thing to do, though, because I know you've said that you were in quite a dark point of your life at that point when the audition came up. So, but saying you've got nothing to lose, I completely get. But to break out of that darkness and go and stand in front of a massive live audience, the most famous judges in the country, and an audience of millions at home, that you don't take that on lightly, do you?
No, not exactly. It was at the time, I didn't realise quite the gravity of it, I suppose, in terms of my life in general. But it was a turning point for me, for sure. Turning up on that stage and being my awkward, weird self at the time. It really did. It changed everything in my life. And looking back at it, if I knew that, I don't know if I would do it because I would be so scared.
How have you changed as a person since then? I mean, the music is one thing, and the fact that you've now got a very successful solo career, but as that awkward, weird guy that you just mentioned, are you still awkward and weird?
Yeah, just in different ways, more in private. I have an easier time talking to people. I mean, I can do this. I'm on here talking to you and enjoying it. I'm having a great time and socializing. I feel easier being me and enjoying moments.
The way television works, obviously the audition was filmed quite a long time before it was actually put to air. Did you have any idea quite what sort of reaction you'd get, not just from the audience that were in the theatre that day, but also from the British public when they saw you on their TVs? It's
a tricky question in a way. At the time, I had no real expectations whatsoever. But I suppose, looking back at it, there's a formula there for the kind of the shock factor, I suppose. And yeah, it makes sense that in that moment there were a lot of people sort of behind me and rooting for me, which is insane. And thank you to everyone voted, who...
I was one of them,
supported me.
Jonathan. I was one of them.
Well, thank you. I can thank you directly.
Excellent.
Thank you.
I'm glad to hear that. Well, you mentioned that the sort of the formula there, and you're absolutely right. With so many of these talent shows and reality TV shows, there is very much a formula. Were you aware of that when you were filming, and did you understand how you were going to be portrayed, and that you would sort of be seen as the underdog who perhaps we weren't expecting to have as much talent as you have?
Essentially, yes. I almost fully understood that.
Yeah. Did that bother you?
Only as much as it would bother me if it was anyone else.
Yeah.
I understood the way that things worked was you would be asked a question and you would answer in your own way, and they would take elements of that and ask you to elaborate on that, I suppose, in order to get their angle, and through that you can judge kind of what they're aiming for and what character they're aiming to portray you as. Because in a lot of ways the people on the show are characters.
Yeah, sure.
A construct of the show itself. That's not to say that the struggles and the emotions that they feel are not real, and that the things that go on the show are not real, but there is a certain element of glamour that is added on.
And ultimately, it's to provide an entertainment show.
For sure, it's a show. It's a TV show.
Yeah.
It's a TV show about a talent show.
So from the final, and although you didn't win, you came second, it didn't really make any difference. You've still got a massive amount of success. You were then signed to Simon Cowell's label, 2 very successful albums and a UK tour later with Charlotte. Why did you then decide to go your separate ways?
At the time, it just seemed like the most logical thing to do, really. We both had our own end game. She's more musical theatre. She wanted to study, and the career had basically made her have to quit the arts ed, which she was at.
Right.
Yeah, it seemed like the better choice then to split off and take up our own paths. And I suppose the influence of the show, the hype that it generated, drew us together and made us a duo. And then once we felt that it was time, and there wasn't all that much for us to do in terms of that duo, it seemed a reasonable thing to do.
Was that a hard thing for you, though? Because she was very, very protective of you, I know, throughout the show. And to suddenly then be put in the limelight completely on your own, were you ready for it by that point?
I don't think any person is ready for that, per se, but... yeah, I felt like it was my time to try at least, and yeah, I've been really enjoying it, honestly. The second album now, the second solo album, Believe, it just came out, and all the songs on it I'm just loving performing, and yeah, just having that chance to just let rip.
Yeah. Well, this is, as you said, the second solo album. The first one went to the classical charts at number 1. It went into the pop charts at number 13 as well. You're the youngest tenor to have ever had a number 1 classical album. I've got this new one in my hands now. I haven't had a listen because it arrived in the post this morning. 13 tracks on here. Just describe exactly what we've got, how you've selected the tracks, and the general feel of it, really.
Well, for the most part, there are a lot of old classics. There are 2 Puccini numbers. The 4th track, E luce van der stelle, being one of my absolute favourite songs of all time, just in general. The way that it's crafted, the structure is almost perfect. But enough of that. I won't go on. But alongside those practically ancient songs now, there are things that have come out only in the last few years, really. Yeah. Bring Him Home from Les Mis.
That beautiful song, yeah.
Which a lot of people have been saying, have been really enjoying, and I'm super happy about that because I've been singing that since I was 14, which is about a third of my life. So finally putting that down on record and then having people say, hey, I really enjoyed that, that's my favourite track on the album, that is the best feeling.